weights are going to be and all these things, and we know the suppliers, but as it started coming together, it's like, oh man, this thing's just so beautiful. I want one, I have to have one, I must have one, you know, kind of thing. And it's just it's a beautiful bike, and I know it's going to perform really well and be something that, you know, everyone can be proud of. So that this is, you know, fundamentally, although not all the parts are from America, it's still, like I described it, an American motorcycle, American in spirit, and lots of parts, you know, made here in America. You've got these really cool, you know, new technology wheels, magnesium. They're ablation casting. That's a guy I know out of Ohio who's been kind of working his way to breaking through with some really innovative stuff. So they're ablation cast magnesium wheels, and, you know, he casts them in Ohio, and then they go to Michigan. So they're imported from Detroit, as the Chrysler ad says, you know, wheels, and, you know, the bodywork, carbon fiber stuff is out of North Carolina. Guy does stuff that I've known for years. And actually, I got him his first contract when we had the original Buell S1s that had little air boxes made in carbon fiber back in '95. He was in his garage or the basement of his mom's house. He now has a big company. I think he makes most of the body parts for the Daytona prototype cars. Okay. So he has a big carbon fiber shop that, you know, totals everything. So he came, you know, was along too, and it's fun to see all these, you know, beautiful parts. You know, it's, you know, the valves are Del West valves out of the U.S. There are a lot of other brands bikes that you just don't know that.
Yeah. What is the advantage of these wheels for, you know, people who aren't familiar with them?
These are really, really light. Ablation is a new casting process that allows you to have different strength heat treatments in different parts of the wheels. So this is a you know, heat treatable magnesium alloy, and we're able to make it harder where you, like the bearing bores are, and yet a little more ductile out in the rim. So if it hits a bump, it's more, you know, ductile and can flex. So we can actually have different material properties in the wheel. And this whole process, he has also the molds that we make. It's an interesting process. It's kind of like a sand casting process, but it's all computerized. And he has the molds that the material gets shot into are corn-based. So they're actually completely biodegradable. And one of the reasons castings have gone out of this country and have to be supplied elsewhere are the nasty, ugly stuff that's in the casting process. This you can, you know, eat the mold as it gets washed away.
Have you tried that?
Yeah, and it's washed away with computer. Well, it might not be too good. Have a little sugar, a little cinnamon, and you know, but this stuff is so cool. It's just fun to see this stuff. So the wheels are incredibly light. We're able to do things that if you come and look at the wheels, you'll be able to see, you know, the way there's just little threads holding the hubs together. That normally the hubs are massive, but that's part of the normal casting process. They don't really have much load in the hub piece at all. And so we were able to literally optimize it from an analytical standpoint to the lightest the wheel could be for a cast wheel, and not have to have any compromises for a manufacturing process. It's just stuff like this is what we're trying to do, and, you know, find people with, you know, new concepts like this, and, you know, bring them to well, so the bike's going to be really, really light. We'll have to bolt a lot of weight on it to race.
Well, it sounds like every part of this bike probably has a story for you. For people who are maybe seeing it for the first time, can you give us a basic introduction? Just say what about it makes it special.
The whole bike, or what? Every part?
Just call out some highlights. Call out some highlights, you know, things that are...
Oh, geez. Well, like I said, the wheels, the brakes, once again, was something we started a long time ago with this obsession of, you know, we want to get the bike light. How do we get it light? The first thing you want to have on any vehicle is unsprung weight. The lighter the wheels are, the better, especially if you're building a light motorcycle, because basically, you know, your ideal thing is, you know, you and the bike are just flowing along, and the wheels are going like this, you know, following the road, and you're nice and smooth and stable, instead of you both going, you know, bouncing up and down. You know, if you have a great big car or bike, you know, it's a pretty stable thing, and it's going to try to control these, wheels that are bouncing along. It's like, you know, as if you, but, you know, when the bike gets lighter, the wheels need to get lighter too. So it's like, just like, you know, if I were to throw you a medicine ball and you had to throw it back, or I was going to throw you a tennis ball and you threw it back, you know, the medicine ball, you know. Well, that's kind of what the bike's doing when the wheel hits a bump. If the wheel's heavy, the bump knocks it up, and then the bike's trying to get it back down again. The lighter the wheel is, the bike can just catch it basically with the springs and put it back on the ground. So super light wheels. Part of it was, you know, and that's why I'm happy about this new magnesium process, but also we have the single brake, which nobody else ran. We've been refining that until, again, we can run, you know, the last race of last year, Jeff battled for the lead for most of the run up the track, got back on again. But we weren't giving anything away on brakes to the dual systems that everyone else has. So that's an innovative solution that we knew fundamentally could work, but we kept refining it. And part of it is, you know, it has a scoop on it now. We learned some things. We went to the car racing guys because motorcycle brake people couldn't solve our problem because nobody else is doing this. Their answer is, well, order 2 of our regular calipers and all your problems will be solved. But then the wheel gets heavier. So one of the things is, you know, we only have 1 disc, but it's larger in diameter, and it also mounts out by the rim of the wheel. So when you grab the brake to stop it, and the wheel, you know, the tire has to grab the pavement, and you grab the brake, the two are trying to twist themselves apart. You know, the brake's being held still and the wheel's continuing going. If you hold a brake disc the regular way, you're holding it this way, just like a wrench, and you're going down through the hub and then back out to the spokes again. So the two things are trying to twist themselves apart. So the spokes, the wheel and the disc mount carrier have to be, so they, you know, can't twist apart. This doesn't have that because the path goes from the brake pads straight out to the rim. It never goes down through the hub. So the wheel spokes don't have to have any torsional stiffness. They only have to resist, you know, braking direct loads and cornering loads. So that's one of the reasons we want to have the single disc. But again, so we're running into issues, and nobody else is doing this. Who do you go for answers? We have to come up with the answers ourselves. And so where do you go? When they're saying, well, your brakes are running a little hotter than everybody else. So we go talk to some car racing people whose brakes glow white. So, and they look at our thing and say, well, you can't run those pads. They're low temp, that's old stuff. You know, and oh, by the way, you've got a bunch of holes drilled in your disc. Bad idea. You need slots. Big difference, huge difference, and we can show you the data. And oh, by the way, how do you get air to that brake? What are you thinking? I don't know. I got a scoop at home. I knew all about that, you know. So you think every car has that. So that's what we do. So we put a scoop on to blow cool air, and it doesn't dump it all over the outside of it. It blows it right through the pads area. That's why you see those two funnels that go down and blow through to the pads. And all of a sudden, mid last year, we made those few more steps that Jeff could run, you know, for a whole superbike race right with everyone else. So see, I'm just on the front wheel. I'm gonna take her. Lots of fun stuff we have. You know, the fuel in the frame that we have to keep the mass down and centralized, and also allows us to have a huge air box for a big twin, which needs big gulps of air. You need really big air vacs. Basically, each time the cylinder takes a gulp, it yanks that out of the air box. And so you need a big volume air box. If you have a small volume air box with a small opening going in, as it dumps a big gulp of air out, the pressure drops in there and you're pulling against the vacuum. So, you know, it slows down how quickly the air can get in. A great big air box with a big opening, the engine goes and it just dumps the, you know, air in. Well, that was one of the reasons we split the frame and put the fuel in it so I could have this really, really big air box. And that's a legacy thing. We have a lot of structural carbon fiber on us. Radiators, we have some very innovative radiators we did to get as much cooling in as possible. And so they're actually very, they're not symmetrical at all. They're an odd shape. They have angles, which makes them really hard to make. Because the way they make radiators is they take a long strip of aluminum and it's just all stamped with these little oval slots, so that then they put the water tubes in between these stamped things. Well, I have a thing that's shaped like this. You can't use it anymore because the distance between here, when you tilt it at an angle, is wrong. So all the end tanks have to be CNC milled before you put it together. So they're really expensive radiators, but they're really cool. It's just one of those things, if you're going to do the way you want to,
right,
you know, as a racer or an engineer without too many rules of cost,
right,
it's fun to explore that. And then once you've done that, you can go look at it and say, okay, how can I get most of that at a lower price? Mm-hmm. But unless you do this, you don't learn how much you can get. You just step out of the box and do some really extraordinary things. on what else? What else we have on it? Another fun thing is we had this is a very high output twin, which tend to be dirty from an emission standpoint with a lot of cam overlap, so it can make a lot of horsepower. But we did our really best shot at how to do it. It has heated O2 sensors, and it has some really advanced fuel injection strategy and 2 catalytic converters. So we did all this and crossed our fingers because we didn't have the time to do multiple tests, and went and did the EPA test and smoked it. We just beat all the EPA numbers by a mile. Yes! That's why I'm so glad the people working for me and the people helping me are so good, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun to be able to let them loose and say, okay, guys, you know, you're gonna have to do it with what you know. I can't, you know, blacksmith my way there. I can't try and try and try. We gotta do it one time. And same thing with the exhaust system, you know, it's a big high output twin with a lot of horsepower. And we built a system that we thought could pass and that we'd be able to go worldwide, which meant it had to have a high outlet, dual outlet to get into Japan, had to have a high up outlet.